हेलो।
You're audible now.
राइट, हो सकता है आपके पार्ट का थोड़ा सा नेट कनेक्शन कई बार हो जाता है। ठीक है, थैंक
Yes,
यू।
sir. Yes.
थैंक यू मैम। A very good afternoon to all dear learners. I welcome you to this lecture of Managerial Economics, and today we are going to study revenue analysis and pricing policy. My dear friends, when we talk about the revenue is a very simple concept. It is the amount earned by the company by the sales of their produced. Say for example, if a company is selling 100 product 100 product of any kind, and if it is selling 100 product of 1000 rupees, multiply 100 by 1000 rupees, whatever you get, that will be equal to the revenue, that is 1 lakh. So 1 lakh is the revenue. So what is the revenue? Revenue is the total amount earned by a particular company after the sales of the product, that is known as the revenue. I hope you are getting it. So what is the objective of this lecture? The objective of this lecture is quite easy. We have few objectives like this. We need to understand what is revenue. We need to understand how many types of revenue are, and you need to learn the pricing policy, and you need to explain the different type of price. You need to develop an understanding regarding the different type of price. So let's start with the first concept of the revenue analysis for the day. Now, when I talk about revenue analysis, say one of my student, Ramesh having a company. That company is selling 100 units of the product each month, and each product he is selling of rupees 1000. So what is the total revenue? Write down into the chat box. So if you multiply 100 products, that is the quantity sold by the Ramesh, by the price of the per unit product, P is the price of the per unit product, whatever amount earned by the Ramesh is known as the total revenue. So this is TR, total revenue, and total revenue is 1 lakh here. 50, put 50 after 1, you will get 1 lakh, right? So this is a very simple thing, right? So revenue analysis, when we do, we talk about the three different kind of revenue. Total revenue, so this was an example of the total revenue. So what is the total revenue? If a person is having a factory, in this factory, say if he is selling 100 quantity of a particular product, and each product is of the 100 rupees, multiply by the per unit price of the product with the quantity, you will get the total revenue. Simple. Second concept is average revenue, and third concept is marginal revenue. These three concepts we will see one by one, but let's further explore the total revenue concept. If you can see this diagram, total revenue is always a function of what? It is always a function of quantity. That means more a particular organization or company sales, the more the revenue will be. So larger the sales of the company, the larger will be the revenue. Very simple concept. So if I am selling 1000 product and somebody is selling 10,000 products, subject to if the price of the product, per unit price of the product is same, then the person who is selling the more 10,000 product, he is going to earn the more revenue. So revenue is always depending upon the how much quantity an individual company is selling. And diagrammatically, if you see, on the y-axis we put the price, on the x-axis we put the sales. What do you see here? You see here, as the sales is increasing, And also one more thing is increasing. Gaur kariye. Another thing is price also increasing. So that means both are increasing. As the sales is increasing, as well as if the price is increasing, and if both are increasing, the revenue is going to increase. So therefore, revenue is like this. If I put the price on the y-axis and quantity on the x-axis, it goes into the upward direction, the positive direction it will go, right? And here is the simplest formula of the revenue. This is the formula. Total revenue is equal to price multiplied by the quantity. Total revenue is equal to price multiplied by the quantity. Now, what is the next thing which you need to look into here? That is the average revenue. Average revenue is what? Average of anything is what? Say, for example, my total revenue of my company, after selling the 1000 product, it is 1 lakh. Say this is my total revenue of my company. Say for example, 1 lakh rupee is the total revenue of my company. Now I achieved this total revenue if I sell 1000 product. 1000 product. So this 1000 is quantity. The quantity sold by me into the market, which is 1000. Right? So if I sell 1000 product, I get 1 lakh rupee. If I sell one product, how much I get? Nothing. You need to just divide this thing with the quantity. So what is the quantity here? Quantity here is 100. So if I divide it by 100, I will get the average revenue. So this is the average of the revenue. This is nothing but the average revenue. So what is the formula of the average revenue? Total revenue divided by the quantity is the formula of the average revenue. One more beautiful thing you see, this AR is nothing but the price of the product. This AR is nothing but the price of the product. Just see here. If I write down the total revenue here, quickly we will do it. If I write down the total revenue here, and its formula is price of per unit price of the product multiplied by the quantity. This is the formula of the total revenue. If I divide left hand side by the quantity of any equation, whatever I do on the left hand side, I do onto the right hand side. If I divide like this, so that will be, you have just seen, it is nothing but the average revenue you have seen here. So it is the average revenue. Average revenue is total revenue divided by the quantity. But if I do the same thing onto the right hand side, this Q and Q will cancel out. What will be left? Price will be left. So therefore, price is nothing but the average revenue. So what is your learning? There are few learning. Total revenue is equal to price into quantity. Average revenue is equal to total revenue divided by the quantity. And therefore, we can say that the prices are nothing but the average revenue. I hope it is sorted now. Any doubt? I don't think it is very easy concept. There should not be any doubt in that. It's very basic concept, very common sense based concept, right? So there should not be any doubt. I hope all of you understood what is the total revenue and what is the average revenue. Now in the same line, let's see what is the marginal revenue. Again, very simple. Marginal revenue is very simple to understand. Say for example, if I have the total revenue like this, TR like this. Now change in TR of the second and TR, say if I sell the three products, say for example, after selling the three product, there is some TR minus total revenue of selling the two product divided by selling the three product minus selling the two product. If I write like this, now this formula and this formula are same. There is no difference. It is signifying the change in total revenue. So I am just showing you the change in total revenue from total revenue earned after selling 3 units minus total revenue earned after selling 2 units divided by third unit and the fourth and the second unit, which is the same one. This should be second, which is nothing but the one, right? So if you see the table, you will understand marginal revenue quickly. Just see here. Say for example, I want to calculate the marginal revenue of 3 units, right? Just focus here. So what is the total revenue of 3 unit? If I sell 3 unit into the market, if I sell 3 quantity into the market, total revenue is 24. If I sell 2 quantity into the market, the total revenue is 18. 24 minus 18. 24 minus 18, how much you get? You get 6. Divided by 3 minus 2, you get always 1. So it is not necessary sometime to divide it by Q2. Q3 minus Q2. It is not necessary. This is enough. If you minus 23 by from if you minus 18 from the 24, you will get the 6 as the marginal revenue. One more marginal revenue we see. Say, for example, if you now want to calculate the marginal revenue at this point. What is the total revenue here? Total revenue here is 30. Now, you want to calculate the marginal revenue at the sixth point. Total revenue is 30. But what is the total revenue of the previous unit? Again, it is 30. So there is no change into the total revenue. So 30 minus 30, if you see, it will be 0. So total revenue is 0 here. So this company is selling the sixth product. At the sixth product, they get the maximum total revenue, which is 30. Their marginal revenue is 0. So therefore, there is one learning for all of you. What is that learning? That if the total revenue is maximum, if TR, remember, always remember this, if TR is maximum in any company, this is the maximum value. So when this value will be maximum for any company, every entrepreneur would like to see the maximum total revenue. But when at what point it will be maximum? It will be maximum when he observed that the marginal revenue of his company has come out to be 0. At this point, he should stop. If he does not stop producing at this point, and if he keep on producing at 7th unit, you can see the marginal revenue is -2, and you can see the total revenue has dropped from 30 to 28. So it is the point, that is, I should make only the 6 product in this factory, in this firm, in this organization, so that I can get the maximum profit, maximum total revenue. Maximum total revenue is the point at which the marginal revenue is equal to 0. Note it down somewhere. This is very important formula. Any doubt till this point? Let me check the chat box. Any doubt till this point? It is very basic and easy. There should not be any doubt. So if you have any doubt, I request the moderator, madam, please write down the doubts of the students into the my chat box. Right? Do that. Okay. Let me check. Let me check. What is the significance of the average revenue if it is equal to price? It is just a concept. Ashish, it is just a concept which I told you. Per unit price is nothing but the average revenue. Right? It is simple concept. Just say Ashish must be having another name at the home. Like I have another name at the home. It is like that. So there is no significance. They are one and the same thing. Okay. Revenue is included, including buying cost of the product or excluding. देखिए, revenue has Sakshi. Revenue comes only from the sales. It has nothing to do with the cost. Sakshi, remember, Sakshi, I have this mobile phone. It is very easy. This is Sakshi company mobile phone. Say, Sakshi produces 10 such mobile phone, 10, and sells them into the market at 1,000 rupees per mobile phone. 10 multiplied by 1,000, 10,000 rupees is the revenue earned by the Sakshi. Now, if the cost of producing 10 phone is less than 10,000, then she is at the benefit. If it is more than 10,000, she may not be at the benefit. Very simple. I hope you understood the Sakshi. This is the concept. So it has nothing to do with the cost. Okay. Any other question? Perfect. So there is not much question. That means you people are getting it. It is a very easy concept. So it should not take much time. So let's move further. So you understand three things, my dear friend. You understand average revenue, you understand total revenue, you understand marginal revenue. You also know that the total revenue will be maximum if the marginal revenue is going to be 0. Right? Now let's see further. Now, my dear friends, in different kind of the market, this total revenue concept, average revenue concept, and the marginal revenue concept work differently. There are generally two types of the market if we divide. However, there are many types of the market structure, but generally, broadly, very broadly, we divide the two types of market structure. We have the two types of market structure. One, perfectly competitive market structure. Second, imperfectly competitive market structure, just opposite of it. Either there is, what is the meaning of that? Either there is lot of competition into the market, or there is lesser competition or no competition into the market. There are two concepts. Ya to there are a lot of competition into the market, or there is lesser competition or no competition into the market. So broadly, we classify the market into two forms. However, imperfectly competitive market we further classify into various other terms which we will see later on, right? So here in this slide we want to know something about the perfectly competitive market, where what is, so first of all we need to understand what is perfectly competitive market. Okay, then we need to understand how revenue, that is the total revenue, average revenue and the marginal revenue, total, average and the marginal revenue are working actually in the perfectly competitive market. So let's understand first what is a perfectly competitive market. Very simple definition, my dear friend. Note it down somewhere. If there are large number of seller of certain product and large number of buyers of certain product, such kind of market is generally perfectly competitive market. This is the number one characteristic. Number two characteristics, that in that market everybody is selling the similar kind of product. Everybody is selling. So just imagine a situation that everybody is selling potato chips around. Same brand, same quantity, same size potato chip, and same price. So products are homogeneous, similar. Third thing, prices are same. Why prices are same? Because if I will keep too much prices, I will be out of the market. Who will purchase my product? Nobody will purchase my product. Why people will not purchase my product? The people will not purchase my product because I am selling homogeneous product. There is no difference between product I am selling and you people are selling. Say 1000 students are there in this class. So every one of us is selling the same product. If I become smart, if I increase the prices, nobody will purchase from me because what is the special in my product? And if I decrease my price, I will be at the loss because there are very less profit margin. So the prices are fixed in such kind of market, and those prices are fixed by the seller, by the industry itself, by the group of people, right? I cannot deviate from the price. So there are three characteristics: large number of buyers and sellers, same kind of product, and the prices are fixed. They are same. They never changes. Based upon this information, we need to see that what is the shape of the average revenue curve, total revenue curve, and marginal revenue curve into the perfectly competitive market. Right? I'll show you that. I'll show you that with the help of a few diagrams I'll make. You just see this. देखिए, इधर देखिए, just see my diagram. You will understand this. That how we have arrived to this diagram. I will show you how we have arrived to this diagram. Just see here. Now, market equilibrium, all of you have learned. What is that market equilibrium? Quickly tell me. Market equilibrium is a point at which the quantity supplied is equal to quantity demanded. Agreed? So on the y-axis, there is price. On the x-axis, there is quantity. Quantity supplied, quantity demanded. Right? So this is supply. This is demand. Right? So quantity supplied is equal to the quantity demanded. So this is the equilibrium point. Remember, this is the market equilibrium point. So the market has decided this price. Okay, the market has decided some price. Say this is P naught. It is the market decided the price. And at this price, many people are purchasing products. So Q naught is the quantity purchased by the people. Now, what did I said? In the perfectly competitive market, whatever prices are set by this market, the market has set this much price. The individual firm working within that particular market, they have to follow the same prices. So this is the market equilibrium, MKT. This is the market equilibrium. Now, whatever the price set up by the market, and in this market, there is one of my firm. Say thousands of people are selling, and one of my companies also, Rohit Corporation, is there. Say for example, so my company is also selling in that market. So at what price I should sell the product? I will sell the product at the same price which is decided by the market. I cannot deviate. So what I will do, I will follow this price. My price is here, quantity is here on the x-axis, and this is my company. This is my company, Rohit company, our company or firm, individual firm, FIRM, individual firm which is working in the hyper competitive market. So whatever price set by the industry, I will follow that price. And therefore, you see this horizontal price curve. And you all know that the average price or you all know that the average revenue is equal to the price in the all scenario. So I can also say that the price curve of a firm working in the perfectly competitive market is horizontal to the x-axis. Remember this. I repeat, price curve of a firm working in the perfectly competitive market is horizontal to the x-axis. You can see it is horizontal to the x-axis. It is horizontal. Why? Because I cannot change the price. If I increase the price, I'll be out of the market. If I decrease the price, I will be out of the market. I have to follow the prices which is decided by the main parent company, the entire industry. Is it okay? Now, what do you see? Now, this curve you see and this curve which is already there is almost similar. There is just one difference, that I am also writing that average revenue is equal to the marginal revenue for any firm working in the perfectly competitive market. I repeat, average revenue and marginal revenue are same for any firm working in the perfectly competitive market. I'll show you and I'll prove you with the help of this diagram. You just see, this is the number of units produced by a company, right? And the price charged by this company will be same. So whether the company will sell 1 unit, second unit, third unit, fourth unit, fifth unit, they will keep the same prices. Why they will keep the same prices? Because they cannot change the price until or unless market says so. Now, if I sell 1 unit, so 1 multiplied by the 8, I will get 8. 2 multiplied by the 8, I will get 16. Likewise, 3 multiplied by the 8, I'll get 24. 4 multiplied by the 8, I'll get 32. So this is nothing but the total revenue you observed here. So these are the total revenue. This is how you received the total revenue. You know how to calculate the marginal revenue from the total revenue. What you will do? 68 minus 16. Marginal revenue is 8. 24 minus 16, marginal revenue is 8. 32 minus 24, marginal revenue is 8. 40 minus 32, marginal revenue is 8. What do you observe? Also, you observe one more thing. If I divide this 8 by the number of quantity, I will get 8 as an average revenue. If I divide this total revenue by 2 number of quantity, I'll get 8 again average revenue. If I divide 24 by 3, I'll get 8 average. So what do you observe? You observe that the average revenue and the marginal revenue are same in the perfectly competitive market. What is the reason behind it? The reason is very humble and simple, because there is no price change. There is same price at which the product is being sold into the market. Therefore, I can also say, that for a firm working in the perfectly competitive market, average revenue is equal to the marginal revenue. I hope you understood. Any doubt? So what is the learning? Let's cut short. In the perfectly competitive market, large number of firms are there which is selling the product. Large number of firms are there which are buying the product. The products are homogeneous in nature. They are of the similar characteristics. They are of the same price, and because of this, whatever price decided by the industry or entire market, that price is followed by the individual firm. Because of this, you get this price curve or demand curve of a firm working in the perfectly competitive market. You have further observed that since the price is same, average revenue is equal to the marginal revenue. There is similar curve are there in the perfectly competitive market. If you do not have any doubt, please ask if you have any doubt, please ask the question. I'm going on to the chat box. Madam, I request you to please note down the questions if they have any into the chat box, which are relevant one. Okay, somebody is saying, say Muhammad Rashid is saying, in perfect competitive market, prices are fixed. So if any firm selling any number of the quantity, very good. That is what I wanted to teach you. Thank you, sir. What if the company will flood the market with the product? That is the perfectly competitive market. They will be the same price. There will be the same price. What if the industry of the company will flood the market with it? That is what I'm saying, Suraj. If, sir, your voice is breaking. My voice, I think it is clear now. My voice is clear now. Perfect competitive market and monopoly market. Monopoly is different from the perfect competitive market. I'm just talking about the perfect competitive market right now. So most of you are able to understand it. Why total revenue is changing? Total revenue, of course, it will change. The more you will sell, the more total revenue will be. Ayush Chauhan, the more you will sell, beta, the more will be the total revenue. You are selling one, total revenue will be one. Uh, 1 multiplied by 8, so 8. 8 multiplied by the 2, 16. So since you sell more, so total revenue will be increasing, right? There is no doubt in that. Okay. So if the revenue is the amount received from the sales of the product, then why the revenue is decreasing from 7 unit? Why the seventh unit? The revenue will decrease. Definitely it will decrease because after some time inefficiencies come into the organization. It decreases after some time. It reaches at its peak. And I told you, Karthikeyan, I told you that it reaches total revenue is maximum when marginal revenue is equal to zero. This is the sign for the entrepreneur, company manager to understand that they have achieved the total revenue. They should stop producing here, at least in this market. This market is saturated, go somewhere else if you want to sell more. I hope you are getting it. Marginal revenue as compared between what and what and what. This is not a relevant question. Why total revenue is changing? I told you total revenue is changing, Ayush, 10 times. In this scene, price should be stable. Yes, price should be stable. How the maximum revenue is when margin? Yes, Gautam, that is what I am trying to say. It is always, I have shown you through the table. आप या तो उस वक्त थे नहीं, so you should be there. Okay, I'll go back once again. I'll tell you once again. You have some confusions. Hi, Mere. You see this table. All of you, please see this table. If you see total revenue, how we calculate 18 minus 10, it is 8. I hope you know how to calculate it. So total revenue is increasing, increasing, increasing. Till this point, it has increased. Now, the moment if you make 5 to 6, the revenue is not increasing. Revenue is not increasing, right? Perhaps there is maybe no demand of the product or whatever may be the reason that after that, if you will sell, there is a more losses. There is no benefit. So the revenue is decreased. So it has come to a conclusion that at this point I must stop. That is a simple logic you need to adopt. So therefore, at this point, marginal revenue is zero. You can see if I make the diagram, total revenue, if it goes like this, it is maximum at a point where the marginal revenue is zero. So this is the total revenue. It is the maximum at a point. This is the point where the marginal revenue is zero. If this is the marginal revenue curve and this is the total revenue curve. Right. Now what we have seen, the concept of total revenue, marginal revenue, average revenue for the perfectly competitive market. But my dear friends, there are another type of the market that is known as the non-perfect competitive market or imperfect competition. Now, imperfect competition can be of multiple types. I can give you few examples. Say, for example, few sellers are selling the product into the market, not very much. Say, for example, if I say that how many telecom industries are working in India, you will say, sir, okay, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 maximum telecom industries are working in India. How many steel plants are there in India? You will say 4, 5, 6 steel plants are there into the India. Steel companies are there. Why? Because huge investment is required. So few companies are making the or taking care of the demand of the entire people. That market is oligopoly market. But sometimes monopoly is also there. Monopoly is the kind of the market where there is just one company, like Indian Railway. Just one company is selling the product to everyone. So monopoly, oligopoly, monopolistic competition, all three are the examples of the imperfect market. My job is not to tell you the difference between monopoly, oligopoly, and monopolistic competition here in this class. In the next class, the entire unit is dedicated on that. Here you need to understand that what is the revenue curve, what is the revenue curve, total revenue curve, average revenue curve, and marginal revenue curve under imperfect competition. So now you should also know some of the definition of the imperfect competition, right? Okay. देखिए, imperfect competition is there. That means there are no large number of buyers and sellers. There are maybe few sellers, and few sellers are competing each other. And since they are competing each other, there is just one way of an individual seller to increase the sale is to reduce the price. The more you reduce the price, the more will be the demand of the product. Secondly, my dear friend, don't stick to the line. This is a generalistic point of view which is based upon the lot many assumptions. However, there are many other factors which are working around this theme. So what do I say? What I'm saying that if you want to sell more into the imperfectly competitive market, if you want to sell more, then you have to reduce the price. So if I say price is here and the quantity is here, this curve will go down. This is average revenue. Average revenue is equal to the demand here, right? This is also a term, or it is also equal to price. So that you can say, see, price curve is nothing but the demand curve. Change in quantity with respect to price is the demand curve. So demand curve is always downward sloping. This is an individual firm. See, if this is my company, say again, this is my company with my name, right? And if this company is working, say for example, if this company is working in a imperfect market, there are 10 more people are there in this market. That is, say, assume that 10 more people are manufacturing biscuits. Just an example. However, there can be more. Just an example. 10 people are manufacturing biscuits. And within this 10, one of the person I am, this is my company. And there is competition, but there is not much. But if I want to sell more, it is my right, I can reduce the price, because my prices now, it is not depending upon the entire market price, right? It is not depending upon, because there is lesser competition. There is no huge competition. So I can play smart. I can reduce the price if I want to sell more. If I reduce the price, I can sell more. Say further, if I reduce the price, I can sell more. Therefore, generally it is observed, then it's always it is observed that any firm which is working in the imperfectly competitive market, its demand curve. Demand curve is nothing but the price curve. Price curve is nothing but the average revenue curve will be downward sloping. Remember this. Any company working in the imperfectly competitive market, its demand curve, average revenue curve, and the marginal curve will be downward sloping. Second thing. Now, what about the MR curve? What about the MR curve? Marginal revenue curve. Let me tell you what happens with the MR curve. So if I say this is the average revenue curve, for any company working into the perfectly competitive market, this is the average revenue curve. If I say this is the average revenue curve for any company working in the perfectly competitive market, so what is the MR curve? MR curve will be this. MR curve will be this. This will also be downward sloping curve like this. This is the MR curve. Now you should ask, sir, why this MR curve is different from the AR curve? However, it was not there into the perfectly competition. You should ask this. Let me tell you why this happens with the help of the example. Now, since in the imperfectly competitive market, different companies can keep their prices of the same product differently. They have this liberty. Say individual companies there, it sells the first unit. First unit when it sells at the 10 rupees price. Second unit, when it's sold into the market, it reduced the price to the 9 rupees, because they can do it. They can do it because the market is not hyper competitive. So if you multiply this, you will get the total revenue 10 here. If you multiply 2 by 9, 2 by 9, you will get the 18 rupees at the total revenue. If you multiply 3 by 8, you will get 24. So what do you observe? That the average revenue, that is the price, if you reduce, I am able to sell more. I'm able to sell more and generate the more revenue. When this thing happens, of course, the marginal revenue will be different. It will not be same as the average revenue, but it will always be below the average revenue. So what do you see? How can I calculate it? Say 18 minus 10 minus 18, you get 8 here. 24 minus 18, you get 6 here. And similarly, 28 minus 24, you get 4 here. 30 minus 28, you get 2 here. Right? So what do you observe? That marginal revenue is dropping. from 8642. Therefore, this line is also dropping. This line you can see here, marginal revenue line. This line is also dropping, right? Therefore, you see this line is being a dropping line. Secondly, what you observe that the average revenue is higher than the marginal revenue at each point. Average revenue is higher than the marginal revenue at each point. Just see here. Say, here you can see average revenue is higher than the marginal revenue. Average revenue is higher than the marginal revenue. Higher, higher, higher. Always it is higher, right? Okay. So there are two learnings now. In the imperfectly competitive market, average revenue curve is downward sloping. Marginal revenue curve is also downward sloping, but marginal revenue is lesser or below than the average revenue curve always. So in perfect competition, if any firm is working, average revenue is horizontal, marginal revenue is horizontal. In imperfect competition, if every company is working, average revenue is downward sloping, marginal revenue is downward sloping. I hope you got the idea. So let me see the chat box now. Garanshi, total revenue will be maximum when the marginal revenue is equal to 0. Right? Divya is asking. No, in examination, it can come. It can come. Ask the relevant question related to this class only. Mosumi, average revenue is what? Mosumi goes to the market, purchase 5 kg of the mango, 10 rupees per kg. So 10 multiplied by 50 is the total money she has invested. Say, for example, Mosumi is a seller. So she sold 5 kg of the mango, 10 rupees per kg, 50 rupees she earned in the total revenue. What is the price of the per unit mango? 10 rupees. That is the average price or average revenue. Average revenue is nothing but the price of the product. 100 times I have told you this thing. Please be alert during the class. Revenue is price multiplied by the quantity, or please join at appropriate time. Don't join rate. This problem has been sorted out by me at the start of the class. Revenue is always equal to price multiplied by the quantity. Remember, my dear friends. Okay. Now, moving ahead. Now you see all of you. Before I go ahead, let me rewind what we have done within the last 35 minutes. We have understood what is revenue. Revenue, just it's a recapture now, my dear friend. It's a recapture first, then we will go ahead. Don't worry. The first is the recapture, then we will move ahead. So whatever we have learned so far, let me tell you. We have learned what is the total revenue. Total revenue is nothing but the price into quantity. Nothing but the price into quantity. Right? What is the average revenue? In order to take the average of anything, I need to divide that thing by the quantity. I'll get the average revenue, AR. AR is equal to total revenue divided by the quantity. Total revenue divided by the quantity. This Q and Q cancel out. Therefore, AR is nothing but the price. And then we have also learned how to calculate the marginal revenue. Then we studied what is the shape of the average revenue and marginal revenue for a firm working in the perfectly competition. The shape of any company working in the perfect competition, the marginal revenue is equal to the average revenue. And this is also known as the demand curve. This is also known as the price curve in the perfectly competitive market for a particular firm. But into the imperfect competitive market, this is the size, that is average revenue is downward sloping and marginal revenue is also downward sloping. That is what we have done so far. Now the next thing we need to understand is the relationship between AR, TR, MR and elasticity. Now what is AR? AR is average revenue, TR is total revenue, MR is marginal revenue, and price elasticity of demand you have learned into the earlier unit. But for the sake of your convenience, the price elasticity of demand is the percentage change into the quantity divided by the percentage change into the price, eta value. And you remember that when we were talking about the price elasticity, there were few methods we understood, and one of the method was this simple straight line. The center point of this straight line, always and always at the center point of this straight line, the price elasticity will always be unitary. It is equal to 1. What does it mean? It means that equal amount of the change into the price will take place, or will lead to the equal amount of the change into the quantity. If I reduce the price by 5%, the 5% quantity will sales will increase. So exact. So therefore, this price elasticity is 0, is equal to 1 at this center point. Remember this, right? This is also known as a unitary price elasticity, right? You have learned this. My dear friends, this is the concept of the elasticity if I talk about, but I need to understand first, or all of us need to understand first, that what is the relationship between all four of them. There is a formula for that. Note it down somewhere. However, there is a technique to drive this formula also, but I am not telling you that because it is very typical as far as your standard is concerned, and it has nothing to do with you, right? However, in SLM it is being given, but you remember this because it needs a lot of geometrical requirement, which I don't think many of you may be aware of that, right? So you just learn this formula that average revenue, or average revenue, is nothing but the price. Therefore, I have written the price also, is equal to the M. M stands for the marginal revenue. It is equal to the M multiplied by elasticity of a product divided by elasticity of the same product minus 1. Minus 1. This is the formula. This is nothing but this is equal to the average revenue or the price. Remember this formula. This formula will help you to sort out a lot of numerical problems. We can also call it price also, because average revenue is nothing but the price, right? Now, what is the relationship between this elasticity with the MR, TR, and AR? With the help of the diagram, we will understand it. First of all, relationship has been explained by this formula. What does it signify? It signifies that if I have the knowledge of my marginal revenue and price of my company, I will be able to calculate the elasticity of my company. Number one. If I have the idea of elasticity and marginal revenue, I will be able to calculate the price of my product. So that means if any of the two things I have, I will be able to calculate the third thing. That means either I have marginal revenue or price elasticity, I will be able to calculate the average revenue. If I have average revenue and the marginal revenue, I will be able to calculate the elasticity, right? So either any one of two things are there, you are able to calculate it easily. So this is the significance first. Second thing, we need to understand that what is the interplay between all these things. Now we will understand with the help of the diagram. You just see this diagram. What do you see in this diagram? This is the downward sloping curve. Which is the downward sloping curve? This one. See my pointer. This is the average revenue curve. See, this is pointer. Where is the center point? Here is the center point. At the center point, as I told you, elasticity is always equal to 1. If I divide this entire line, demand curve, if I divide the demand curve into 2 equal half, PC is equal to CD, then at this center point, elasticity is always equal to 1. And if I make a dotted line from this point, crossing this elasticity and touching here at the marginal revenue, what I will see, H is the point, H is the point, H for Hong Kong. H is the point at which the total revenue, this curve is of the total revenue, TR, total revenue is maximum. Total revenue is maximum when the marginal revenue, this is the marginal revenue line, it is equal to 0. So what is the learning? First learning is here. You just see this. At this point, MR is equal to 0 at this point. So since MR is equal to 0, we learned that total revenue will be maximum. So H is the maximum point of the total revenue. And this, coincidentally, this point is also going through the center point at which the elasticity is equal to 1. Right? So if I write 1 here in this formula, what will happen? In place of elasticity, if I write 1 here, what will happen? What do I get? I'll get 0. because 1 minus 1, 0. 1 divided by 0 is equal to 0. So you will get 0 here. So that means when no, not like this. Don't consider this. Leave it. यहाँ तक समझ में आ गया? और चीज एक चीज और बतानी थी मुझे, पहले वो कंप्लीट कर लूं. राइट, यहाँ तक समझ में आ गया? So this is the center point. So this is how the relationship is described. Now the important thing, above this point, that means from here, from C to P, elasticity is greater than 1. That means till the average revenue is increasing, elasticity will be greater than 1. Now, after this point, from this point, C to AR, from this point to this point, or C to D, elasticity is less than 1. That means if the total revenue start dropping, the elasticity is less than 1. That is, relative change into the quantity is lesser than the change into the prices, right? So this is how you explain the relationship between total revenue, average revenue, and marginal revenue. You should remember two things here. Number one, you should remember this formula. Number two, you should remember this diagram. This diagram says few things like at the center point, the elasticity is equal to 1. Above that, the elasticity is greater than 1. Below that, the elasticity is less than 1. Secondly, if the elasticity is equal to 1 and the marginal revenue is equal to 0, total revenue is maximum. So read this out. When elasticity or the coefficient is 1 for any given price, the corresponding marginal revenue will be 0. So if the elasticity is 1, the corresponding marginal revenue will be 0. At this point, the marginal revenue is 0. That is what has been told by me. Marginal revenue will always be positive when the elasticity of the coefficient is greater than 1. So see, at this point it is 0, but if I go above, it is positive. This is the marginal revenue curve. This marginal revenue curve is positive. Why it is positive? Because elasticity is greater than 1. So second learning is, if the elasticity is greater than 1, that means if the product sold into the market is more and as compared to the change into the price, then I can say that the MR is positive. If MR is negative, it will lead to the elasticity lesser than 1. Right? I hope you understood. Two things you need to remember. Before I go ahead, let me check what is there into your discussion board. Then I'll take you to the king demand curve, which is again not very difficult. It is easy concept. Sania, there can be numerical question. There can be, right, Sania? I hope you understood. Is this relationship between MR and business effect? Yes, it is. See, Ankit, it is not like affecting the relationship. It is like understanding the values. Say if you know the marginal revenue, and if you, I will tell you, Ankit, just understand this. Hear me out. If you know the marginal revenue and average revenue, you will be able to calculate the elasticity of your company. When you are aware about the elasticity of your company, you can take price related decisions. In the previous class, Ankit, if you have attended, I told that if the price elasticity is more than 1, what does it mean? If the price elasticity is more than 1, it means that I should give discount to my seller. I should reduce the price to get the advantage of the selling more. And if the price elasticity is less than 1, the product is necessity. I can increase the price. I need not to give the discount to the customer. So such kind of decision I can take if I am aware about the total revenue and marginal revenue. Things are interrelated, right? Ankit, I hope you understood. Okay. And then Alkunte is asking, if this is the case of competitive market, how will be the firm profitable than other competitors? देखिए, very good question. Darshan has asked the question that if in the perfectly competitive market, everybody is keeping the same price, then how can I earn the more profit than the other companies? There is just one way. by selling more and more. Say for example, if you are selling in Ahmedabad, sell in Delhi, sell in Japan, sell in New York, at the different places, or at the same place try to sell more, open up your more outlets. That is the only case. I hope Alkunte Darshanji, you have understood it. If this is the case, okay, I have already given you the answer. Okay, let me check few more questions. Can you give me the little recap of the starting? No, I cannot give you. Pratika, please come on time in the class. It is not possible. You're not the only person in this class. There are more than 1,000 students are there in this class. I would request you on Monday, please come and attend the discussion board, and whatever your problems is there, you can sort it out. Or specifically write down your question, I'll give you the answer. I hope you will not feel bad or offended. Understand this. This is my limitation. Otherwise, I will not be able to finish the case course, right? What happens when the elasticity is less than 1? You will tell me, Garima. If elasticity is less than 1, what will happen? Say, it is a necessity product. It is petroleum. It is diesel. What will happen? That means if I can increase the price, I can increase the price to increase my revenue. People will purchase. झक मार के उनको मेरा product खरीदना पड़ेगा, right? Because it is a necessity product. I can do it. So that is the advantage. Okay, what happened when the elasticity is less than 1? Why questions are repeating again and again? How to calculate the marginal revenue or marginal profit? Profit or loss depends upon the revenue. Here there is this is an absurd question, Mr. Bhupesh. Why it is an absurd? Because I haven't talked about profit and loss yet. I have only talked about the marginal revenue, total revenue, and elasticity, and the formula is there. Any two of things is there, either marginal revenue or average revenue is there, you will be able to calculate the elasticity. If you have the elasticity and the marginal revenue, you will be able to calculate the average revenue, right? I hope you understood. Okay. Can say imperfect market is a luxury market. Okay, now there are many questions. I cannot take them all. Let me move ahead. Moderator, madam, I request you to please filter the question and send it in my chat box. Now, my dear friend, another amazing and very interesting concept, that is known as the king demand curve concept. What is this king demand curve concept? Theoretical, I'll not go. I'll tell you practically. What is this? Now you can see this diagram, and this diagram may look very difficult for you. Let's first understand what is this king demand curve, why we use it, and in what kind of environment or the market we use it. However, we will read it once again into the oligopoly market. Okay, what happens into the oligopoly market? There are few sellers and the few buyers. Few sellers and the many buyers are there. Say, I'll give you an example. If there are two companies, one company is Pepsi and another company is Coke. Just assume this. One company is Pepsi and the another company is Coke. Do you know how many aerated cold drink companies are there in our country? Just two, Pepsi and Coke. Iske baad there is no company, right? So if price is here or the cost is here, revenue is here, you can take the values from here, one and the same thing, and the output is here. This king demand curve actually, my dear friends, look like this. Just focus on my curve. Don't see this diagram. Don't see this diagram as of now. Otherwise, you will be confused. Just focused on my curve. It is like this. It is like हल्का सा ऐसा है. हल्का सा ये यहाँ से. It will go like this. This is known as a king demand curve. Why it is king? Because it is having edge. It is having a corner here. It is the corner. This corner. What is the meaning of this corner? This corner is the meaning is in the oligopoly market where few sellers, Pepsi and Coke are the two companies selling the cold drink to the entire India, right? So they put a price here and they put a quantity here. It means that the prices are rigid for such kind of market, for oligopoly kind of market. Why prices are rigid for such kind of market? Why Pepsi and Coke cannot change the prices from this point A? Why they will fix it? There is a reason behind it. I'll give you the example. Say, assume now that the Pepsi increases the price of its product. Pepsi increases the price of its product. The price of the Pepsi increased, say P1. It is just an example to let you understand. What do you observe? The quantity sold has increased or decreased? We observe that the quantity sold has decreased. Now, question should be why? Because first of all, this is not a necessary product. Secondly, there is a close substitute available into the market who has not increased the price. That is Coke. Coke is a direct competitor of the Pepsi. So Coke has not increased the price, the Pepsi has increased the price. So the customer of the Coke, there is a strong chance the customer of the Pepsi will move to the Coke. So is there any advantage of increasing the price? Answer is no. So the Pepsi should not increase the price because intense competition is there. Just two companies are selling the product here into the market. So definitely it should not increase the price. Now, can it decrease the price? Let's see again. Can Pepsi decrease the price? One second, your dot is not working properly. When can Pepsi decrease the price? Just see this. Let's see it has decreased the price. Now it has decreased the price here. Now sales will increase. Sales will increase. Definitely it will increase. But there is a catch. But there is a catch. If the Pepsi will decrease the price, what the Coke will do? It will sit idle. No, sir. Coke will follow the prices of the Pepsi immediately. The moment Pepsi will give the product at 10 rupees discount, 20 rupees discount, the Coke will again start giving the discount. So there is no benefit for both of them. Both of them will lose because there will be a hyper competition as far on the basis of the price, which is not good for both of them. So they will never reduce the price. The conclusion is they cannot increase the price, they cannot decrease the price, they have to keep the price at this kinged point. Therefore, we call it kinged demand curve in the oligopoly market. Few more things happens in such kind of market. Understand that above this A point, this is the kinged point, above this point, product elasticity is more than 1. Product is relatively elastic. Why it is relatively elastic? Because the prices has been reduced, the more and more people will come to the another is relatively inelastic, is relatively elastic, and below the point it is relatively inelastic. So if this question comes into the examination, what you have to do, let me tell you, you need not to worry much about it. You need not to make such a big diagram. You need to make the diagram which I have drawn for you. That is sufficient enough. That is sufficient enough and explaining the king demand curve effectively. King demand curve is observed number one into the oligopoly market. Few companies selling to the maximum number of the people. King demand curve observed only into the oligopoly market, and it goes like this. It creates a king like this. So this is the king point A. I have to fix this price of my product at this point because there is a chance that if I increase the price, the company, I will lose certain customer. If I decrease the price, the another competitor will follow the price. So better to stick with a particular price. Therefore, we see in the oligopoly market, there is no price war. Within the Pepsi and Coke, there is a really price war, but you will see the war for the advertisement. You will see the war for the sponsorship. You will see the war for the um, distribution channel. But there is no war as far as prices are concerned. There is no price war. There is a tacit approval between both these companies. There is a cartel, in fact, in short, you can say, between both these companies. So there is a recap question for you. Now, what is this recap question? Understand the perfect competition, right? So what is the correct answer? What is the correct answer? In the perfect competition, what happens? This is the diagram. AR is equal to the MR is equal to the price. So all points are equal. AR equal to the MR equal to the price. So B is the answer. Now, my dear friends, I am stopping here. Why I am stopping here? Because I think that this topic is slightly tedious for you. It is difficult to digest. Otherwise, I had a plan to finish this entire pricing unit. Now, let me recapture what we have done so far. We started the unit number 5. We learned about revenue, total revenue, and marginal revenue. We learned about the relationship between total revenue, average revenue, marginal revenue, and elasticity with the help of a formula. We learned about total revenue, average revenue, and marginal revenue of a firm in the perfectly competitive market. And we found that average revenue is equal to the marginal revenue for a firm working in the perfectly competitive market. We also learned that average revenue is downward sloping and marginal revenue is also downward sloping in the imperfectly competitive market. We learned the kinked demand curve, which is observed into the oligopoly market. Few sellers selling to the large number of the people because they avoid the price war. Therefore, they go for the fixed demand curve. It is also known as the Sweezy demand curve. It is given by the economist Sweezy. So we call it Sweezy demand curve. We call it kinked demand curve. We call it because it shows the price rigidity. Price are fixed. They are not very flexible, right? With this, I close this lecture. In the next lecture, the second half of this lecture we will complete, that is the pricing policies. So in the next lecture, we will take care of the pricing policies. Now let me check the chat box. If you have any question, I will be happy to reply regarding whatever I taught you so far. Okay, so I don't see any specific question in my chat box. However, my dear friend, don't lose your heart if you are not able to understand, because there are 100 and 1000, 12,000, 1200 people are there in this class. If you are not able to understand any concept of this, then on Monday I have one discussion board. On the Friday again I have the discussion board, right? So I have discussion board. Please um, come in the discussion board. Whatever your specific problem or the question is there, please ask. Don't hesitate to attend the discussion board. Thank you, Sanya. If you understood, it is great. Rajkumarji, kinked demand curve is observed into the oligopoly market. It shows the price rigidity. I'll give you a very simple example. मान लीजिए Rajkumar ji, there are two companies. One company is your and one company is mine. We are very close competitor of each other. If you increase the price, I will not increase the price. What customer will do? They will come to me. If you decrease the price, I will immediately decrease the price. So there is no advantage of the price decrease, right? So therefore, why to decrease the price and why to increase the price? There is no other option but to keep the constant prices. Rajkumar ji, I hope you understood. The same thing I have understood. Okay, king demand curve. No, it is not linear. It is not linear. That there is a kink. There is a point. It is showing that above this there is elasticity. Below this there is inelastic demand. Therefore, it is at kink. It is not a linear curve. Okay. So let's call it a day. And there is a feedback form. I hope you understood this class and the concept of revenue. So let's call it a day. Most of you have given your responses in the form of the answers. No, king demand curve is only observed. Mohammed Rashid, king demand curve is observed into the oligopoly market. In the next unit, we will study that also. Don't worry. In depth also again, I will take that in the next unit. Okay, so shall I call it a day? So let's call it a day, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, sir.